This is Professor Adiel Ortiz Lagardere streaming live from the International Bariatric Club studios at the International Institute of Metabolic Medicine in Baja, Mexico. The theme of today's IBC Oxford University Hot Topics in Bariatric Surgery exclusive event is Modular Robotic Platforms, bringing the benefits of robotic surgery to the masses, and will feature experts from the United States, Brazil, India, Chile, and Mexico. The IBC University of Oxford webinar series would like to thank Zoom Video Communications based out of the United States, Laparoscopic Surge based in Tunisia, and Bariatric News based in the United Kingdom, and Bariatric Channel based in Brazil for setting up and promoting this regularly scheduled online academic series. We would also like to thank our platinum sponsors, Ethicon Endosurgery, Stryker, our gold sponsors, Medtronic, David Medical, Lexington Medical, Reach Surgical, Blue Sail Surgical, Karl Storz, USGI Medical, our silver sponsors, Apollo Endosurgery, GT Metabolic Solutions, our bronze sponsors, Arthrex, ConMed. This is the 89th IBC webinar of the IBC Oxford Academic Series that is streaming live globally to viewers throughout the IBC website, ibcclub.org, the IBC YouTube channel, via Facebook Live, and IBC Instagram and Twitter. This IBC Oxford webinars are organized by Professor Harris Quadra, consultant bariatric surgeon and director of IBC education based at Chelsea and Westminster Hospital, Imperial College London, and Christchurch, Oxford University, and Mr. Bruno Gromo, consultant bariatric surgeon and co-director of IBC education based at John Radcliffe Hospital, University of Oxford, UK. This event will be chaired by Dr. Ankit Patel and Professor Santiago Horgan, both from the United States, and will be moderated by Professor Bruno Zilberstein from Brazil and Dr. Jorge Bravo from Chile and Professor Tomasz Rogula from the United States. Dr. Ankit Patel is Associate Professor of Surgery, Emory Healthcare, Emory University School of Medicine, Atlanta, Georgia, Chief of Surgery at Emory St. Joseph's Hospital, and Director of Robotic Education from the General Surgery Residency Program, Co-Director of SAGE's Robotics Manual, and one of the first textbooks dedicated to robotics, as well as the Director of SAGE's Resident Fellow Robotic Courses. Professor Santiago Horgan is Professor and Chief at Minimally Invasive Surgery and Vice Chair of Business Development, University of California, San Diego, Director of Metabolic and Bariatric Institute and Director of Center for the Future of Surgery, Department of Surgery, University of California, San Diego, and Director for the Center of Surgery, International Institute of Metabolic Medicine here in Baja California, Mexico. I will now ask Dr. Ankit Patel to introduce the moderators.
All right. Thanks, Harris, wherever you are, and Gloria for helping us set up all this stuff. It's an honor to chair this interesting session today with Dr. Horgan. Our moderators today are Professor Bruno Zilberstein from Brazil, as we already know. He's a professor of surgery, head of the GI surgery division in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Also joining us is Dr. Jorge Bravo from Chile. He's a chief robotic surgery and staff surgeon at the Gastrointestinal Bariatric and Metabolic Surgery Clinic, Santa Maria in Santiago, Chile. And then Professor Tom Rogula here from the US. He's the president and founder of the IBC, the International Bariatric Club. He's a bariatric and robotic surgeon at DHR Health, Brownsville, Texas, US. And then professor of surgery at Case Western Reserve University in Cleveland, Ohio. I'm going to turn it over to my co-chair, Dr. Horgan, to introduce our first speaker.
Thank you, Dr. Patel. Thank you, Ankit. That was very nice presentation. We have an amazing panel. Thank you, Ariel. Thank you, Gloria, Harris, and Tomasz for an amazing program. It's a true pleasure to introduce Professor Erik Wilson. He's very well known, but you should know that he's a professor of surgery University of Texas, and he's also director of bariatric surgery, chief of bariatric surgery in Houston. Erik is a leader in bariatric surgery, leader in robotic surgery. He's very well known and respected worldwide. I think that no one has done more bariatric surgery trials than Erik, robotic, laparoscopic, and endoscopic. So I happen to always spend great time with Erik, and we were together in Argentina in an amazing meeting, and we have a lot of fun. So Erik, it's a pleasure having you here.
Thank you, Santi. I really appreciate it. That was a very nice introduction. Little, as usual, a little more than deserved, but I appreciate it. Let me share here and make sure everyone can see. Does that look like everyone can see it well, Santi? Thank you. Thanks, Santi. All right. So I'm a little bit of a poser today. I have done a lot of robotic surgery for 20 plus years. But when it comes to robotic systems, I've done a lot of work outside the United States with multiple companies on this, but no modular arm system currently is FDA approved in the United States. So the volume of clinical cases I have are very, very minimal. Have done a decent amount of lab work and other types of work, and have been fortunate enough to hang out with, for example, Paula and several other folks around the world as they do modular arm robotic surgery, but it's not approved in the USA. So I don't have quite the experience that Pradeep and Paula have. So certainly that's my biggest disclosure. Take that with a grain of salt about what I say. But I'm going to talk a little bit about use of robotic arm systems in foregut surgery with lap chole. And, I think it's an interesting concept to kind of talk about the evolution of robotic platforms and where we've come from without spending a lot of time doing that. But if you look at the history of, our major player in soft tissue robotics, it's been the intuitive Da Vinci platforms, and there's been 4 generations. And as it relates to how these platforms work from a patient-facing side, they're all boom-mounted systems. It's a boom-mounted system. It's been 4 generations of boom-mounted systems. Probably will be a next generation will be a boom-mounted system unless something changes. Intuitive has gotten very used to that. So boom-mounted arms, just as a contrast, they're one surgical cart to move. Their external interferences are managed mostly physically, with not having to do a whole bunch of software management. Because you don't have to have a lot of software recognition in the arms relation to each other. If you have one arm down, and some of us have experienced this, although the system is quite reliable, you can't really swap it out. So you have to just not use it, or you have to change the case. It's limited to multi-quadrant access based upon its design, although the size of the arms have played a role. And if you go through the generations of the intuitive systems, what you see is these arms have gotten smaller in profile, even though their strength has stayed pretty long. But they have to be quite large for the stability, and they tend to have a big footprint. And so that's one of the reasons that people talk about modular-based systems. And so you know what it looks like when we put a boom-mounted system. You have basically one boom you have to deal with, but you've got to roll in a fairly large platform to do this. What about mounting it off the ceiling? So the boom could be off the roof, but then you've got a robot mounted and dedicated to that OR, and you can't move it around. And I think this is an intuitive prototype of doing that, and basically they have not ever pursued it. Contrast to that is table-mounted arm systems, and these are in development, but no table-mounted system is widely being used, where the robot itself, as far as the patient-facing side of it, is the table. But that's being developed. Obviously, Auris and Verb Surgical, which are both J&J systems, have been working on this for a long time with an open surgical cart, potential endoluminal approaches in addition to laparoscopic approaches. This allows potential integration for what we call combined endoluminal laparoscopic surgery, although you could do that with other systems as well. So there's no surgical cart to move with a table-mounted system. The external interferences can be physically managed, but you can also have pretty elegant software management, potentially to manage external interferences by managing the arms in relation to each other. You can't really swap it out because it's part of the table. So, if the robot has a problem, it's even actually a little bit more challenging than even a boom-mounted system, because, you have to move the patient to another table if you're going to change robots. So there potentially can be less limitations on multi-quadrant access, but it also gets down to the size of the actual arms themselves. And you potentially don't have to have the system quite as large for stability. And you have a smaller footprint, obviously, because the footprint's basically the bed. That being said, none of these systems are currently out in clinical practice. So this is kind of a cartoon of how a table-mounted system could look, with potentially 3, 4, 5, or 6 arms. So when we come to the modular systems, we've had players in the market for a while. Census is the first modular system. It's just extremely large modular system and has approval inside and outside the United States, but it is a very large system. It's an open based console and instruments that could be 3 or 4 arms and small instruments like 3mm instruments, but not always wristed, and long instrument lives. Census is, through COVID is still out there and you'll see them, but still working on growing. And then of course we have the Medtronic system, which is the Hugo system, which is in current FDA trials right now, particularly in urology, an open surgical cart, modular 3 to 4 arms. Most of the times the systems are going to be sold with 4 arms, but you can use 3 or 4, a full complement of the wristed instruments and a cost-focused analysis. There's several other modular systems out there in addition to kind of our main player that we're going to talk about today, the CMR system. But CMR has the largest volume outside the United States and is growing the most quickly at this current time. So, with a modular system, the nice thing about it is you can start with 3 modules, you can add a 4th, you can potentially even add a 5th, possibly more. And that kind of gets to the CMR, Cambridge Medical Robotics system, which we'll be talking most about today. And it's a relatively small footprint, modular based, 3 to 5 arms, designed to mimic the human arm. And approximately 10,000 cases have been done clinically now. So quite a bit of volume, although it's not FDA approved, much to my chagrin. I'd love to be figuring out how to utilize this system effectively in my patient population in the United States, and hopefully we'll get there soon. The open-based system allows you to stand and sit. And this is the only video of mine that I can actually show you, showing doing a gallbladder and doing a pretty large paraesophageal hernia, but this is in a cadaver. This is not a live patient. So obviously you can do a very similar type dissection with this system as you would with any other robotics platform or laparoscopic platform. And you can see this hiatal hernia was quite large that we were closing down as we were doing this case. So it was kind of fortuitous that we had a cadaver that just had a very large paraesophageal hernia that we dissected out and closed. So the clinical cases I have today are from Dr. Simon Higgs. So I appreciate his ability and desire and gratitude in giving us these cases to look at. But we've got a laparoscopic cholecystectomy in the upper left and a hiatal hernia repair with a Nissen fundoplication in the right. You can see in this situation, we're using 3 arms, a camera, and 2 working arms with wristed instruments on both sides, hook cautery on the left side for the gallbladder, which is a common way to dissect the gallbladder out. When we do clips for the gallbladder, we are using external clips through an accessory port. So for a learning case, obviously, this is a good case. I've done many lab cases with gallbladders using the CMR system. I think it's a great way to get adept to the platform, deal with basic docking. As you add more modules, you have to get more creative. And I think Pradeep and Paula will talk about placement of the arms as you add more arms to them, because 3 arms are easier to learn than 4, and you've got to learn your angles of approach and attack. But then you also usually have an assistant port that you need access to things as well. And so a lot of cases have gone to 4 arms. You can certainly do a 4-arm gallbladder and a 4-arm hiatal hernia repair and repair the crura as well as a wrap. Let me fast forward a little bit here to show mobilization of the greater curvature. When you're mobilizing the greater curvature, in this situation, we don't have advanced instrumentation yet. They're working on that very earnestly. And so bipolar ligation of the greater curvature vessels and then division with monopolar scissors is the way that Dr. Higgs manages this. I think Pradeep and Paula can talk about how they do vessel ligation as well. But I think bipolar and monopolar scissors. But we do have advanced instrumentation around advanced energy coming pretty quickly. So you can see typical hiatal closure and then performing a a wrap, and I'll fast forward to that to see, innocent fundoplication in a pretty standard manner. So modular arms allow multiple surgical carts to move in and out. You need more complex software recognition of the arms in relation to each other because the modules are independent of each other, and that's important for external interference management. The pivot point remote center management can vary with the types of arms. For example, the CMR system actually has a software managed pivot point, which actually could be less traumatic if you're off the pivot point and the software can adjust for that. And I think CMR's done a lot of work to optimize that. And that's some complex software, but they've gone through that process and made that, I think, better. And so I think that's an interesting advantage that we should talk about more. One arm's down, you can swap out with another module. So that's really nice as it relates to modular systems. I think there are potentially fewer limitations of multi-quadrant access. Of course, you still have to consider the profile of the arm itself, and the profiles are quite low or small with the CMR system, but you can still have external interferences based upon your setup. And the footprint depends upon the module. So these smaller modules that CMR has have a smaller footprint and allow for more flexibility, but possibly less strength. The question then becomes is how small can you make the module to hold a good support and still have strong strength to manage higher BMI patients? And I think that's something that we need to look at, because some of these modules will be larger, but possibly have more strength. So the big areas of debate as it relates to these different types of platforms and the modular systems are, how do you access things during emergency situations? Luckily, that doesn't happen very often with good management. But with a modular platform, it's actually pretty easy to get in there. Setup and docking, those have various challenges and advantages. What's the easiest? I think that's something we still have to discuss and learn as we get better with these types of robots. And then the interference management, and what feeds back to the surgeon on the console with what type of haptic sensation you get with an external interference or an internal interference. And then the flexibility of the modules versus the footprint and the strength versus the size. So, what works best? We don't really know yet, but it's an exciting time to see how these are evolving. And there's a lot of factors that are in play: the case type, advanced instrumentation development, which is coming in a lot of these new systems, and then digital analysis options, which is way beyond the scope of this talk, but there's a whole bunch of additional things that can be measured off of robotics that all of these platforms are going to be looking at, and they'll be offering different types of approaches to that. So I'm really excited about the next 5 years to see how much these systems kind of expose themselves as far as what they're really good at, and what some of the challenges are. And obviously, I'm curious to see what platform gets us to allow us to have 5 or even 6 arms or combined arm usage endoscopically and laparoscopically. And I would say we don't use one operation for any given surgical disease. We've got multiple operations for reflux, for example, multiple operations for bariatric surgery. So why would we use one robot? And I think these different approaches and different systems with the different types of support are going to be very useful, and we have to wait and see how that will unfold. But thank you for your time. I really appreciate the honor to be here and to talk to y'all, and I'll turn it back over to the moderators. Thank you.
Erik, quick question, Ankit. You're on the forefront of this. And when you first said there's no modular system, I was thinking about Synhance. I was like, technically modular, but like humongous, right? It's massive. I'm with you too. I wish we could try CMR. And it's smaller, much more modular. And I think you did some of I think you showed a video of setting up 2 robots together, doing like a peritoneal approach and abdominal approach. But I think I remember seeing that video a few years ago. Where do you see this in the whole scene of robotics? I mean, I don't think Intuitive's disappearing with their boom system. You imagine us having 2, 3 systems in a hospital, and we'll just have to let them duke it out, see which one's gonna fit in that. Because I agree with you that I don't think there's one system that fits everyone. But where do you kind of see it in the next 5 to 10 years, especially as hospital systems and groups are looking at like where to invest money or capital in? Just kind of your thoughts, since you're always ahead of this.
Yeah, thanks, Ankit. I think there will be some duking it out, so to speak, but I think there's a very large market here. And, one of the things we'll talk about in the international community, one system's just not going to be able to satisfy all the needs. And so internationally, I think there will be lots of bandwidth for, products such as CMR or other systems. As it relates to the clinical side of this, it's a big unknown, honestly, from my perspective, as far as, where we'll have massive clinical advantage of using a modular system versus a boom mounted system versus a table mounted system. But I think that's all going to evolve out of things. I think there's potential advantages to each type of system. If you're in a surgery center or a smaller OR, a low profile modular system for outpatient surgery, to me makes a lot of sense as opposed to a big boom mounted system. Cost obviously plays into all of this and the price points of everything, but there's got to be a sweet spot for every type of operation. And a lot of times one robotic platform is going to be complete underkill or overkill. And I don't have a great answer for your question. I'm excited to see how it evolves, but I do think there's space and bandwidth for all of these different types of platforms. I don't think we have to, and I don't want to rely upon one company to provide our robotic solutions.
I think that Tomasz has a question or a comment.
Yes, excellent talk, Erik. I always appreciate your very good presentation. I actually learn robotics from you. So let me comment one thing. Before I moved back to the United States in January this year, I worked in Poland for 4 years. And we, in the public hospitals, we had all 3 systems. And we use them clinically pretty much on daily basis. So one comment about the modular system that is provided by Sensus Zenhance. Yes, it's very large. We actually had a special operating room just to fit those giant arms. But the major difficulties using this was to coordinate those arms together. So what usually happens is they work independently, and the disadvantages was very difficult to coordinate the height, the range of movements in those 3 arms that we had. We actually spent, I would say, at least 60% of the time adjusting and readjusting the positions, the height and range of those independent arms. When everything is set up well, the actual procedure goes well, and it's basically digital laparoscopy, because it has straight instruments without articulation. So it's basically laparoscopy, but it's done remotely. Then we start using CMR for sometimes, and the problem with coordinating those units was less because the units were smaller and they were kind of more flexible. One nice thing that CMR provides is the external portion of the arm, the elbow, can be adjusted in anyways, so it does not collide into the other arms. I'm sure the next speakers will cover this in more details. We actually try to make some efforts and even some prototypes to make a digital or kind of artificial intelligence sort of coordinations of those arms. So there was a scanning system of the operating room, and the system was learning the optimal position of the arm. But even this, the sophisticated things did not help so much. So that's my comment. If the future module platforms will come with some sort of coordinating tools, I know CMR has something like this in the pipeline. That will be very helpful. Otherwise, it's kind of nightmare to put them all together.
Thanks, Tomasz. Those are great comments. I totally agree. I think Pradeep and Paula will certainly talk because they've lived this on a daily basis and have developed some unique skill sets as it relates to arm placement. But I do think we do need to train and teach and develop systems and approaches that optimize, and I think that is doable. I do hope, and I do see, and I'm proud of the fact that, I know a lot of people, such as folks on this call, that are doing the hard work to allow these other systems to grow, develop, and thrive, because we need a lot of systems on the market if we're really going to serve our patients well.
I can. Thank you, Jorge Bravo from Chile. Professor Wilson, congratulations for a great lecture. I think that you are very well expressed on a great problem of modular platforms design, the size and degree of space occupation in our OR. It seems that the companies are not listening to us, since Perseus and Hugo take up more space than Da Vinci. In Chile, we have been using Hugo for more than 1 year, and space is a problem. It's a true problem. Problem for the surgeon, problem for the anesthesiology, a problem for the bedside assistant. And the question is, how long do you think it will take to develop smaller and more versatile technology?
Well, this is an engineering challenge, Jorge, and it gets to your base platform and how much support you need in order to have a stronger arm in each individual arm. And the mechanics of the CMR platform allow for potential improvements around that with smaller platforms. That's why it is a smaller platform. But I think even CMR would admit probably that a stronger arm for higher BMI patients and more difficult situations is something that we would all ask. And so the question and challenge for CMR is they have the lowest profile right now, and I think Pradeep and Paula can comment on this very well, is how much stronger do we need to be to do higher BMIs? How much stronger do we need to be to do more aggressive and difficult maneuvers? But I think there is a way to do this. I think there are answers for it. We just got to keep working on it. And I would argue, yes, I mean, there's going to be all kinds of challenges with each system, but if we keep working with them, giving them both positive and negative feedback and encouraging them, we're going to get to where we need to be. And we really need lots of different platforms out there. I know I've said that like 5 times already, but I truly believe it.
Erik, that was an awesome presentation. I want to echo what was said earlier, that we always think ORs, size of the ORs in the US, right? 800 square feet. And the reality is that you have traveled through Latin America and Europe, and the ORs are tiny. And I don't think that, Intuitive is already a big robot for these tiny ORs. So I think that size is an issue. But do you feel that we're going to have different robots for different operations? So let's say I like what you said. If we do outpatient hernias or gallbladders, we don't need a robot with staplers and advanced energy, right? So we're going to have a lower profile robot and maybe a CMR type of robot for that. And then when we do advanced surgery, we need advanced energy and a stapler, then and a BMI 80, then we can have another robot for that. If we do that today, right, we use harmonic scalpel, we use ligature device, we use NSEAL, we use sutures. Do you think that we're going to go that way, where we're going to have different robots for different types of operations?
Yes, I do. I hope we do, and I think we will. And your points are all very valid, Santi. But I do think we're going to start individualizing our tools and our digital tools for the procedure at hand and try to optimize that. And that's why it's so important for us as soft tissue surgeons to be actively engaged with many of these companies are doing this hard work as possible and trying to help them be successful, giving them real honest feedback about what they're doing well and what they need to keep working on. So it's an honor to be here with folks that are driving that because it's very important.
Awesome. Thank you, Erik.
Erik, I think we probably need to move on to the next, but there's one question in the chat. I don't know if you have any thoughts about it. When you have all these multiple systems, how does a surgeon jump between one system to another? Especially if it's in a room, kind of goes on with what Dr. Horgan asked, like, do we need a specific robot for specific procedures, or is it going to be multiple robots that are going to be flipped in and out? Is it time for a universal console per se? Good luck getting all the companies to talk to each other. But you have any thoughts or perspective on that?
I think there will be some challenges as it relates to, switching from one surgeon console to the next, and the utility of that. There is some relative, similarities, because it's, surgery and it's hand control, but there are some challenges, and in the meantime, we got to focus a lot on training. We got to practice a lot. So we should warm up if we're changing systems a decent amount, and simulation allows us to do that. I do think I'm not so cynical that think we can't have more commonality around the platforms, because that's happened in industry before. I mean, we've had standards as it relates to, video processing and other things like that. There are ways to create standardizations. I think we can get there. I think that's a long ways off, but I think we can manage that as surgeons. We have to be dedicated to it. We have to want to learn. We have to want to, evolve and change our practices. Not every surgeon likes doing that, but I think this is a big part of the future of surgery. So, we've got to do the hard work on our side as well.
All right, thanks. I think we'll move on to our next talk, since Dr. Zilberstein, do you want to introduce our next speaker?
Yes. I have the pleasure to introduce Professor Pradip Chaubey from India. He is president of the Padma Shri awarded. It's chairman of MAX, Institute of Minimal Access Metabolic and Bariatric Surgery in New Delhi, India, and honorary surgeon to the President of India, surgeon of His Holiness Dalai Lama, and president of IFSO in 2012 and 2013. He will give us a very nice talk about the modular robotic platforms. If it increased the volume in robotic minimal invasive gastrointestinal surgery in Asia. Please, Professor Pradip.
Yeah, thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. It's good to be with all our friends and colleagues after quite some time. And I think a lot of things have been said about the platforms, various platforms which we are talking about. But I strongly believe that some of the facts which needs to be surfaced or highlighted, I would say, or brought from depth to the little superficial level for us to understand the next generation revolution, and that is the robotic revolution. And I think we are one of the fortunate generation, most of us, I think, we are at the fortunate generation that we have seen the revolution. So we had, say, in my 45 years of career, I worked for about 15 years as a conventional surgeon. And then I moved on to the laparoscopic revolution. And now for a couple of years, I moved on to the robotic revolution. So I am thankful for this great opportunity for me to be presenting my thoughts, which I have gathered over 2 years of experience with the robotic system. Though 20 years back, 23 years back almost, I was one of those persons who worked with the Da Vinci system, and somehow with my general laparoscopic procedures, briefly to give a couple of things to our audience. First of all, I think the word robot was used way back in 1921. And this was a play, this was a Czech play in Prague, where they used the word robot for the Czech word was robota, which means forced work. So this was a play where somebody would like to let other human being do exactly what he wants to do, the way he wants to do. So this is how the robot, which has nothing to do in terms of today's robotic system, but it's very interesting to know that the word came from Prague. Okay, now then came the Puma. I think, this is the first surgical robot in 1985, but it was basically not a surgical robot, but it was the stereotactic biopsies for the neurosurgery. And then, of course, the Probot in 1988 was used for TURP, which again did not really pick up much initiative and much popularity amongst the surgeons. And then, in 90s, we have seen quite a bit of things. Of course, I started my laparoscopic career in 1990, one of the first one in the Asia Pacific region. And then ESOP, I used ESOP also. It was a more voice modulated telescopic movement system. Of course, Zeus, Da Vinci, and Intuitive merged with Zeus. And I think this was a period where people were not very sure exactly what we are going to do. And I get a feeling in retrospect now, I think that time people were feeling that open surgeon is to be converted into the robotic surgery. Somehow I feel that was a concept which was not really a realistic concept. But when the laparoscopy came in, I think this became more feasible to have the laparoscopic surgeon becoming the robotic surgeon. And this is what we see. The most of the laparoscopic surgeons are moving towards the robotic surgery, which I think I will be discussing. So I came across in New Orleans in one of the meetings, Colonel Satava presented a tele-robotic surgery, and I was fortunate to be attending that meeting. And it was basically was talking that we have to, through tele-robotic system, we have to let the robot operate in maybe moon or maybe in some other country. Basically, it was meant for US Armed Forces. And I was so much impressed with, in 1994, that I created the first Department of Asia Pacific in 1996. And you can see all of us there. If you know, I am here, my other colleague, Dr. Anil Sharma, Dr. Kullar, everybody, Dr. Manish, Dr. Manna, I think all of us were there, excited, and you can see the board, Department of Minimal Access, Tele-Robotic and Cyber Surgery Center. So we were very much excited and convinced at that particular time. But as you know, the evolution in technology takes place. And as the evolution took place, we also realized that probably that's not the way to move forward. Now, this is my slide. It's almost 33 years old, which I got prepared on one of the computer graphics, which took whole day to prepare one slide. And this was my thought that I was moving from the conventional surgery to the laparoscopic surgery and looking at it as a very flowery and colorful future, though I was not sure where the ground was as firm as possible. So this was my first slide when I moved from convention to laparoscopic surgery. And this is a slide which I am presenting today. It's a great leap of faith. And you see all the sort of gadgets now, which you're relying on the technology, you're relying on the various jumping method. You know that if anything goes wrong, you are dead. But still, the technology is so strong. I am not saying that there may not be failure, but I'm still saying before it comes to the picture, I think it's a great leap. So these are my two great leap of my faith. Now, I think, this is what at the moment, I feel that we should all be thinking laparoscopically and should be operating robotically. Which surgery, which procedure, which robotic system, I think only the time will tell us. Now, this is somehow the robotic system which I am using. And once the moment I saw the system in 1920, I got interested in this. We just talked about CMR versus robotic platform. Now, the beauty of this is that it's a small footprint. You can move the arms very easily from one theater to another theater. Of course, you can see the open console, which is, it gives you a lot of liberty to stand or sit or do any height of the system. And I think the biggest advantage which I saw in this was my passion for training and teaching. So with one system, I could train a lot of my younger colleagues sitting on my back and looking robotically at the 3D picture. Another point which impressed me the most was my volume. My volume, clinical volume, is fairly high. I do, and our team does, about 350 to 400 surgeries every month. They're all laparoscopic surgeries of hernia, bariatric, and all sort of procedures, fundoplications, the hysterectomies. So we have our own interest. So this robotic system, and to our surprise, we have reached up to 10 surgeries in a day with one just robotic system, moving from one operation theater to 5 of our operation theater. Another thing which impressed me was the ergonomics. You are handling it exactly as you handle the laparoscopic instrument. So there is no extra time needed for that. And you are comfortably sitting whatever it is. This I would also recollect and recapitulate that in 1987, Philip Murray did the first laparoscopic cholecystectomy. And in 1992, just in a couple of years, the laparoscopic cholecystectomy became the gold standard of the world, without any studies, without anything except the, of course, some of us will remember the Sheffield trial, which ultimately did do little harm, but did not benefit. So within no time, it became the gold standard. And after suddenly that became the whole era of surgeries which can be done laparoscopically. And I think we all face the same. Laparoscopic surgery, that was said, is a very high cost, limited availability, lack of experience, and high complication rates. Now, today also, or maybe a couple of years back, I think most of us, we heard the same. The robotic system is high cost, limited availability. But on this slide, I can see the way laparoscopy transitioned from conventional to laparoscopy. I'm sure and very confident that in future, laparoscopy will get transformed to robotic surgery, though with many robotic systems which are in the pipeline. In spite of the fact that FDA approved this robotic system in 2000, now the cost was again a challenge. In 2000 to 2012, in 12 years, we could not do anything to the cost, could not do much to the training, we did not increase the indication for robotic surgery apart from the urological procedures and carcinoma prostate and pelvic procedures. Availability, of course, today it's a little more, but that time it was very less. And infrastructure, I think utilization of infrastructure was very poor, because in one operation theater with the boom there, you could hardly do more than 1 or 2 cases in normal working hours. So I think these were the reason why the robotic surgery took a long time, till about 2000, where the modular system started coming up. And now I think with the previous model systems were used for specific surgeries. Now modular systems are more for general laparoscopy, for the common surgical procedures like gallbladder, hernia, fundoplication, hysterectomies, and appendectomies, and various other intra-abdominal procedures. And that is what I feel is the popularity. Now, just to give you the glimpse, what is the future predicted at the moment? It is predicted that more than 400% increase in last 6 years of the number of robotic surgeons. So we can understand that, just in couple of, and this is going to be in thousands. More and more, the laparoscopic surgeons are getting into the field of robotic surgery. So more than 400% increase. Now you see, now general surgery, how it is 840% increase in 6 years, driven by general surgical procedures. So here is the message that unless the general surgical procedures are done robotically, the growth will not take place. And this is what is happening. Why the growth is taking place, why there is a multiplication of numbers, because I think more and more general surgical procedures are being done robotically with modular robotic platforms. Now, this is very interesting. 4,000, more than 4,100% increase in last 6 years for inguinal hernia repair. So is one of the surgery, very common surgery. It is there. Now, another figure, 4,400 times more for ventral hernia repair because of suturing, because of the placement of the easiness with which you can, and the dexterity with which you can suture. So that is another platform. There was anti-reflux surgery. However, I think it's not a very, very common surgery, but still 860% increase in the number from 2012 to 2018. So again, it speaks volume that how we are going. Now, when it comes to the cholecystectomy, has the lowest increase in the percentage, though it is still significant, 300%. And that is what we changed in last 2 years. We changed this to a different number because this is one of the commonest surgery done by the surgeon. So I think in this graph, you can see that the growth of the cholecystectomy till 2018 was the lowest. We can ignore maybe 1.5 to 2 years of COVID, which of course nothing grew, but I'm sure with 21 when I started this surgery and 22, I will just show a glimpse of my figure that where do we stand today? I think gallbladder remains the very common surgery, and the surgical robotic global market is in 2025 is going to be of such a degree where a lot of robotic systems will come into play and will make the life of a particular type of surgeon more comfortable, whether he's doing common surgical procedures or advanced surgical procedures. What is the need? I think need easy availability, and we see the market is now getting flooded with newer generations of robotic this thing. Cost per patient, of course, with the number increasing, cost per patient will go down. Common surgical procedures will be more used, and patient will be demanding and compelling the surgeons and the hospitals to get into the system. And all these systems are becoming mobile. So can be moved from one operation theater to another operation theater. And with open console, we have more opportunity to train our young surgeons with a simpler procedures which can be done. Now, this is just my profile. I started in 21, and you can see the growth in December, how is almost like 50% of my procedures, almost 120, 125 procedures per month we are doing robotically. Of course, the gallbladder, hernia, fundoplication, appendectomy, hysterectomy, they are the common procedures. Of course, cholecystectomy remains still one of the most popular. So you can imagine the awareness now which is being created. So this is our graph, what we saw. Before we realized in 22 has been quite important year for us. We feel that we could create 2 world records on the robotic system. One was the fastest 100 cases in 17 days, and another was the highest number of robotic surgery, 623 in just 1 year over this thing. So, but this is not the story. This is not my record. This is I would like to devote this record to the robotic system, newer platforms which are coming in. So today, I would like to conclude that my title is Modular Robotic Platforms Increase the Volume of Robotic in Millimeter Surgery in Gastrointestinal Surgery in Asia or in the world. I would say yes. I'm very positive, and we have done trial for FDA, for CMR. I'm sure sooner or later it will get approved, and more countries will be doing. Of course, thank you very much for this opportunity. I bring greetings from my team at Max Institute of Minimal Access Metabolic and Bariatric Surgery at New Delhi, India. And thanks for your attention. We'll be happy to answer any question arising with my presentation. Thank you very much.
Dr. Horgan, I think you're muted.
Okay. Thank you, Pradeep. That was an awesome presentation. Sorry for that. You clearly proved that with Da Vinci you have increased the volume, and that in Asia Pacific clearly robotic surgery is increasing. But how will modular robotic surgery increase even more or improve Da Vinci? That was the original question. So there is no question that robotic surgery is increasing, but how would modular, how will Hugo, how will CMR versus impact or improve even more robotic surgery? Using that, that's going to be the case, or using that is all general robotic surgery regardless of the platform?
Yeah. See, I think, this is what I think also has been discussed. We need a smaller footprint. We need more. The operation theaters, not all operation theaters are big enough. So the smaller operation theater with a smaller footprint. Second is, I think, all the corporate group, all the hospitals look at return on investigation, ROI. Now, if you have a boom-based robotic system, that operation theater is occupied for hours together while the patient is induced, when you are putting the port, when you are extubating the patient, when you are recovering the patient, when you are getting the operation theater cleaned, that you are getting another patient in. It takes a lot of our time. And as I said, I run 5 operation theaters every day. And my robotic system with the 6 arms, we have got 6 arms with Vercius. So, we generally use 3 arms. So one patient, you do move the console to the other theater and you start immediately. So there is no wastage of time. And by the time the previous patient is extubated, the ports are closed, the 3rd operation theater is ready. So you can move. And then there's a gynecologist who comes in and he wants to do hysterectomy. So it shifts to then you can move into the various floors. So I think you can move one system the same day. You need a next floor needs a robotics. So multidisciplinary use, more number of patients with the same amount of investment per day. Companies will be compelled to bring down the cost of the robotic system as well as the disposable cost. And this will increase. And on top of that, parallelly, the robotic world and the laser world is very, very exciting for the patients. So anybody would like to get a laser operation. Anybody would like to get a robotic operation rather than a conventional operation. So it's a definitely a advancement in technology. And whatever today we have got, I feel that within a couple of years, the market will be filled with new robotic systems, and the cost of the capital investment will go down. The more and more system will be available for more and more number of surgeons, because they will be doing maybe a couple of gallbladders and a couple of hernias and a couple of hysterectomies, appendectomies in future. So this is what I feel the way forward.
So you feel that Vercius CMR is a smaller platform than Intuitive?
And maybe I think in future we may expect even smaller platforms than CMR, or CMR may come themselves with a smaller platforms. It's quite possible.
Okay. Anyone has a question?
Yes. I want to congratulate you. It's a very enthusiastic presentation. And all of us are looking for a friendly system. What I do believe is that at that moment, the CMR model hasn't enough toys to allow us to perform more advanced surgery. For example, I have a difficulty on esophagectomy, also on performing esophagectomy without thoracotomy, a transmediastinal esophagectomy, and other procedures like that, a colectomy. So I would like to know your experience and what do you recommend us for more advanced surgery in those modular devices?
Well, I will. It's a very interesting question, and I'm very optimistic about it because this is. See, today I think if you talk about the boom system, those are there for 23 years now. So they have progressed over 23 years. There was a monopoly there. Now we have got the whole world. I think there are about 7-8 systems. I know that they are in the pipelines, and sooner or later, within a short period, they will appear in the horizon and they will be available for us for the surgeons. Now, what I strongly feel is that any company which is invested so much of money, I'm thinking over a period of time, they will increase the number of their instruments. The finesse will be there. Energy sources will be there. And as we discussed, for all surgical procedures, I feel that all those things are not required. So at the moment, if I have to conclude, I would say that this is one of the best systems for common surgical procedures, which includes suturing as well. But I think over a period of time, maybe a year or a half, they are coming out with 4 or 5 more instruments, more energy sources. So I think the world is moving at a very rapid and fast, and they have to remain there in a competitive world. So for their own survival, they will give us more and more instruments and more option for energy sources and other way of stapling and devices,
Thank you so much. I think that Tom, you have a question.
Wonderful presentation, Dr. Chubby, as always, very inspiring. And everybody knowing Professor Chubby knows that whatever he says, it's well proven, it's very well balanced, something is real. So I really appreciate your input. Now, let me comment about the language part of your talk. My native language is Polish, which is very similar to Czech. And actually in Polish language, it's the same word, robota.
Yeah.
The way we understand that word is something that you have to do, and you get bored with this at some point, and it's very laborious. Something that comes like routine work, sort of cleaning, this kind of thing. And you point into very important portion of the robotic surgery that you actually use this for a common everyday operations. So this is how we understand in my language robota. It's a common daily work. It's nothing sophisticated, not super rare procedures that is done once a year or once every 2 years. It's a common operation: gallbladders, hernias, Nissens. And I think this is what this robot was designed for, the daily procedure, to make it easier.
Correct.
So
Tom, I stand corrected. I think this is your language. I found it very fascinating to know the word robot coming in 1921 for the word. But I think you interpreted it as well. I stand corrected, and I'm sure that is very interesting to know as well.
Right. So I feel that sense of the word robota very well, and in your talk I feel it even more. A small comment and question to you. Looking forward in terms of robota, the laborious work, do you think is there any future for autonomic robots, not the whole machine, but maybe portion of the work, like suturing? When I was in Cleveland, we actually had a group of enthusiastic medical students, and they created automatic suturing robot. It was very primitive model, honestly, at that point. But it was quite interesting that the robot can stitch itself in a certain pattern. I'm not sure if companies are going that way or not, but I want to hear your feeling as very intensive user of the robot. Do you think the automatic suturing would really help?
Well, I think automatic suturing will definitely help. I have seen a couple of presentations and also experienced one, the small handheld robotic system, which does not need anything. It's handheld like a laparoscopic instrument, but the degree of movement are different, like you can manipulate. But having worked on it for a couple of minutes, I realized that it may take long time for us to be standing there. The machine is too heavy. But I think especially the abdominal wall repair, when you do the IPOM Plus, where you need inverted sort of, suturing. I think that if comes automatically, I'm sure. But as you know, I think technology is moving so fast. A couple of years, we never thought that our mobile phone will be so accurate and so precise that you will be dealing in millions and millions of rupees from one place to another place. So I think technology is moving very fast. The world is working on the robotic system, made be for flying, made be for driving. So I think, a lot of surprises will be there for all of us in near future. We have to just keep our eyes and ears open, be vigilant, and try to adopt, get onto the learning curve as soon as possible, and give up the balanced, crucial and critical analysis to the industry. Not just praising them, but telling them the thing which they should improve with a very honest and transparent conversation.
I have a quick comment on what Tomasz and Pradeep have so beautifully explained. And, I did the first worldwide esophagectomy in 2000 with only a hook and a grasper. I didn't even have a bipolar, right? And we didn't have a stapler, we didn't have advanced energy, and we did total esophagectomy, and that's how we started doing things. That was 23 years ago. So things have evolved. But when we look at the operations we do, most of the operations in the US do not need a stapler, and they don't need advanced energy. That's hernias, gallbladders, and prostates. We only do 200,000 sleeve bypasses and sleeve gastrectomies in the US, but we do 1 million gallbladders. And what Pradeep has beautifully shown is that the adoption of minimal invasive techniques by using robotics has increased minimal invasive surgery in India. And I think that that's true, right? And so I think that these platforms that don't have all the tools are going to be, if the cost is low, are going to be able to improve access to minimal invasive surgery worldwide. I want to know if the panel agrees with what I just said. Ankit and Tomasz and Bruno and Paula that is here and Pradeep.
Well, I think, you are rightly said so. And I think, for example, common surgical procedures, you may use the robotic system, which may be less expensive, Right. If say, okay, you have got only 2 options. That's all, 3 arms. But cost is half. Per procedure cost, what you need is a hook and what you need is a grasper. That's all. The clip applicator is already there. So, you reduce per procedure cost. That, I think, will attract. So you are not overcharging the patient. Now, the cost of surgery does not become 2 times or 3 times. Just marginally increases by 20%, 30%, like that. So that will be accepted by the insurance companies as well. They wouldn't mind paying 20, 30% extra. But if you ask them to pay 3 times, they will be reluctant. So I think with the insurance company pulling in, patients' demand pulling in, the hospital getting advantage of having advanced system. So I think, all these combination, I foresee that the changes will come much before we expect it to come.
Okay,
Jorge.
I think that Jorge?
It's not a question, just to say that I really liked your leap of faith phrase. And I think it has a lot to do with breaking paradigms and opening the mind to make way for profit. Perhaps our mind limitation. Just.
Thank you. Thank you.
So let me, see, we have 1 second. I want to ask Paula and Professor Zilberstein a question, because I was in Sao Paulo last week, and I heard that in the public system still they are doing a lot of open gallbladders and hernias because they don't have access. And do you think that these modular platforms of robotic surgery may give access in a country like Brazil, where the biggest growth is happening today with robotic surgery, may access to the public system minimal invasive surgery by using these modular platforms?
Well, it's a very interesting consideration. In our public system, we have only 3 robot systems, Da Vinci, of course, and it's still very high cost for us to achieve any robotic system in a public system. But you are totally right. Making this cheaper, this will be a possibility to improve minimal invasive surgery. We still have problems. Of course, we are a very large country. We have only 30% of the cholecystectomy performed by minimal invasive surgery. So we have a lot of time, a lot of work to teach. So maybe robotic will still demand a little more time to be settled here in Brazil. But we are performing it in other hospitals, and CMR, the modular system, had achieved a great acceptance for minimal invasive surgery.
Just a comment, Professor Bruno. I am not from a public hospital. I just work in private hospital. But even in private hospital, the CMR system is very expensive to us. Is not so. We wait. Would like to the modular system. We really would like to that the modular system will be cheaper, but it's not. What we are seeing now, it's the price is not enough to put in, for example, in a public system to democrate. We would like to democrate the system, but it's not what we're seeing until now.
I have to agree. It's still very high cost for us. Any robotic system, even a laparoscopic system, it's still a high cost, because there is a big difference between our money and the dollar or the euro or the pound. So for Brazil, it's going very slowly due to the high cost of any robotic system.
Okay. After this great conference, I have the pleasure of introduce our last speaker, Professor Paula Volpe from Brazil. She doesn't not require an introduction because everyone knows her, and she's a pioneer and the Invasive robot in America, Latin America. She's a consultant gastrointestinal, bariatric, and robotic surgeon at the CINAMED in Sao Paulo, and PhD in digestive surgery. Her lecture is about outcomes of robotic bariatric surgery using the Invasive robotic platform. Professor Volpe, please go ahead with your presentation.
Thank you for the invitation to IBC. It's really a pleasure and honor to be here. I will talking to you about our experience. It's very initial experience. We have totally with our group, we perform about 100 cases, but including the gynecologist, including thoracic surgery and gastrointestinal surgery. We performed the first surgery a year ago, and the platform, everyone knows the platform is a modular one. You can use the carters separate as you wish. We decided in our group to start with 4 arms, exactly the same as the Vinci platform. So we have to train a lot to put the 4 arms. I think that Jorge will tell us it's very difficult. It's not easy to dock the 4 arms in a modular one. It seems to be easy, but it's not, because the anatomy of each patient is different. The modular system you can use, and we can make it reach every movement that we want. We have to learn how to work without a pedal. It's a challenge, because everyone, since laparoscopy, we use a pedal to do everything, and we have to learn, we have to train a lot about this new handle. Is an open console. We use the glasses. We can stay a stand or a seat in a chair. We prefer to be sit in a chair. It's at some point is good because the console is open. You can see the patient. We can see the whole room. It's some good points of the system. Here, we train a lot before the first surgery. We start training about 6 months ago, before the first surgery. We did because as is a very different robot, we have to train in a wet lab. We train a lot in the simulator. It's good because the simulator, it's inside the console, so you can train in the same console. We have 30 and 0 degree of the optic. The instruments, we don't have a variety of instruments. We just have a hook. We have a bipolar that for us, gastrointestinal surgery is very difficult to use this kind of hook. It's not this kind of bipolar is not safe. We have a needle driver. We have a grasper. We have a scissor. So we don't have advanced energy. It's a point. I think that CMR is working on it. Here is the trainment, the simulator. We spend a lot of time doing simulation because it's a very different platform. We started to train with simulation, and then we changed to a wet lab. We did it in a cadaver, and then in a dry box. The towers, everybody knows the towers. It's very easy to change from one room to another room. It's very easy. We have a very small room. It's a point. It's a good point. We don't need a specific room. We have small rooms, and you start with the small rooms. Very easy to change the cartridge to one room to. Here's the train. For people don't use the Versus, it has a lot of colors. Then you can choose your arms exactly the way that you put. Then you do the calibration. We know that the calibration now it's better than before. We have a more it's reachable places. When we started, the instructor said to us that we can fix the cart and put the every instrument, but we do a different thing. We put the instrument, then fix the cart, because we can know every patient, how reachable is it for the suture, for the surgery that we perform. Here is the distribution of versus. We have to put in a direction and then doing the calibration of the robot. In the beginning, it's not so easy. So here is our trainment, we spend a lot of time. I think that every robot that will appear, we have to do the train again, because it's different. One platform, the concept is different between one platform to the other. Everyone in the room has to be trained, the nurse, the bed assistant. It seems so easy to have the modular platform and put the bed assistant around the table, but it's not. Sometimes we have to do a kind of gymnastics to put the bed assistant. Here is some publications, many publications about just small surgeries, cholecystectomy, hernia, appendectomy. So the publications that we have now, and this publication is about 2023, it's showing that most part of the surgery is not big surgeries, not complex surgeries. What we're seeing, that's about 100, 120, 140 surgeries. The time of the surgery is smaller, so it's a good point. The other, this publication show that there is no big complications, so it's a very safe system. The point is that only the publications are very general, but with the small surgeries, we started our expertise. We started with bariatric surgery because we perform a lot of bariatric surgery. We always said that we have to choose the surgery that you perform, and we doing and feel comfortable to do that. So we perform the first surgery, a bariatric one. We choose that. So the port placement are very different. Here I show you, but now we are changing this port placement. We are doing like a W, unalign the trocars. We choose every patient that we do the surgeries. It's not for every patient. We don't feel comfortable to put a reoperation or men, or now we are choosing men, but we started with women with about 38 to 45 BMI, and then we go step ahead and do 3 weeks ago we did a 52 BMI. It's okay, it's not, but we have to know some things. The instruments have 6.8 millimeters. It's a good point that we can choose any trocars that you want. We can use a 10 millimeters trocar. The instruments work. We can use permanent trocars. We can use disposable trocars. It's a facility in the system. Here, the docking is just to show you, but here, 1 year, exactly 1 year ago, we did the the first surgery. Here is the bypass, the first bypass that we performed. We do it with a hook. It's okay to do that, but we are feel more comfortable if we have advanced energy. But no problem with the surgery. It's just we spend a little bit more time than we are used to. We spent 2 hours in the first surgery. Now we are performing an hour and 15 minutes. It's okay. The time is reducing. Here is the open of the small curvature. It's a little bit slowly surgery because we are using the instruments. We are using all the platform for the very first time. We started with a bypass, a common bypass. And here I'm showing you the pouch, the performance of the pouch. It's okay. We didn't do advanced surgeries like even cardioplasty. We didn't found application. We did perform because we don't use a hybrid. All the surgeries that we perform were totally robotically. It's a little bit slow surgery for the beginning. We did some other surgeries with our colleagues, gynecologists. We perform a column, some column, but just small resections. We perform a colorography because the gynecologist has one point of a problem with the colon, a perforation, and we perform with the robot. So we are doing more and more cases, but the price until is expensive for us. Even the system is not a democratic system until now. The open of the omentum here, and perform the gastroenterostomy. The instruments shake a little bit more than we are used. We are used to Da Vinci, that everything is very firm, and we have I don't know. We have about we are in the very initial experience, but anyway, I think that the more we do, the more we are performing and feel comfortable with the system. The suture is very safe suture, as we are used to do that. You can use, in this case, we use a needle holder and a grasper, but in the first moment, and then we use 2 needle drivers. It's okay, I'm coming. This is our experience. We don't have a lot of cases. We perform about 18 gastric bypass, cholecystectomy, inguinal hernia, bilateral and unilateral, appendectomy, colorography, and colorectum. But this colectomy is just a resection that we did in endometriosis. We didn't perform any cancer case. Here is some pros and cons of the platform. I think that pros is the reduced costs, when you compare, but not enough for us to democratize the system. the dimensions of the OR and change very rapid and possible change of the OR, it's okay. We don't have many devices. We don't have many instruments. We don't have a fluorescence. We don't have advanced instruments. But anyway, we are in the initial experience. I am very thankful of all of you, and thank you for attention. Thank you.
I think we have a few minutes for questions, but I had a quick question. So you used DaVinci and this. How you showed the training algorithm for the surgeons? How did you train your staff to be so facile with the different robots and the differences between the two systems?
The two systems is different. I think that we have to train in a different way. We have the simulator of this robot. In our hospitals, we have a DaVinci system. We have two DaVinci systems in our hospitals. This is not a big hospital. We have a 300-bed hospital, and we have this versus that is in very initial experience. Some surgeons are training. We are training in the simulator in the very end. We are proctoring every surgery that people are doing with the versus. They have to do the standard treatment by the CMR, the CMR standardization, and with online questions, and then they come to the simulator, spend 6 hours, and then do the versus always with a proctor. DaVinci is a very different system here. We have 2 simulators in our hospitals too, so they can choose. I want to do the DaVinci, or I can use now, or people then use the DaVinci and then would like to know the versus system. So the people choose which system or both systems that they want.
Dr. Rogula, you had a question?
Yes. So very elegant presentation. Thank you so much, Dr. Volpe. One question from me as the user of CMR and DaVinci. The modular robots like CMR, they have one interesting advantage that you actually presented in your videos that can be very easily used as an addition to create some sort of hybrid environment to laparoscopy, because I think you use laparoscopic staplers, and also the bypass that you are showing. I think there was some significant hiatal hernia, so I believe that would be fixed quite easily with the CMR. So what I'm trying to say is, because those arms are relatively small and they are easy to set up pretty much anywhere around the operating table, and that leaves quite a lot of space for a traditional surgeons doing some part of the operation laparoscopically. So I imagine the robot can serve as an addition to laparoscopy. For example, difficult dissection like the hiatal hernia, or difficult suturing, Hensel suturing. So that's one comment. The second thing is, you mentioned very correctly that the instruments are probably not perfect yet. There is a little bit of flexibility of those instruments. They're kind of shaking when you do this, and I think they're a little bit too short for the bariatrics. So planning for operation port placement is much different from DaVinci, and also different from laparoscopy, because they are much shorter instruments. So these are my comments, but I'm really grateful that you brought that the hybriding with this system is actually easier, in my opinion, than with Da Vinci.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. We have one case that we have to do laparoscopy because we can't in a simple inguinal hernia, bilateral inguinal hernia, we have difficult to do the suture. And we changed to laparoscopy, and so you're totally right that it's very easy to come to another platform. And the trokers, though, we don't have problems because the trokers, it's common to the both systems, so it's very easy. You can do a hybrid system if you want. It's an option. We try to do everything totally robotic with the robotic system, but it's totally possible to do that in a hybrid. It's okay if it's choice. Maybe in complex surgeries, and then you need an advanced instrument, so you can use and the bedside surgeon can do that with a laparoscopy instruments. It's okay.
Paula, I was going to comment on that, on what Dr. Rogula just commented on. You know, I am the old guy here in this panel, and I did my first gastric bypass September 4th, 2000 with Da Vinci, and we use the same technique you're using now, right? We use a regular stapler, and for many years we use regular stapler because I like the Ethicon staplers or Medtronic staplers. But even today, I do hybrid robotic surgery. When I do a robotic myotomy, I like to take down the short gastric with the harmonic scalpel because I like that device better. And then I bring the robot just to do the myotomy because that's a specific task. People have criticized me for that. I am happy that Tomasz is endorsing that, and you too. Do you feel that with these modular platforms, that is going to be a new standard where we only bring the technology when we really need it and continue the operation to move fast in the parts we need to move fast? So because it's there on and off, you know, like you bring the ligature, you bring the clip, or you bring the stapler, you will bring the robot on and off as needed for a specific component of the operation. How do you feel about that?
I don't feel uncomfortable that we prefer using just robotic. We perform a lot of we perform a colectomy. We perform with the robotic. But one point in Brazil is the cost, because when we use a platform and we use, for example, a robot system, and then you put a laparoscope system too, it's more expensive.
Okay.
We have to really reduce costs here because it's very, very expensive to put one platform and then put laparoscopy, so that we choose to do with one system, and that's it. It's one thing, it's one point, very important for us, because as you know, every platform that you use, we can use during the week as a systematic user. Because if you use once a month, you never use a platform. So we try to optimize this kind of thing in our reality.
I think that Jorge has a question. Dr. Bravo.
Yes, Paula, congratulations. Paula, do you think there is a difference in the use of versus when operating patients with greater obesity? I say this because the arm of versus seems to be weaker than Da Vinci or Hugo. What do you think about this?
You were right. As I mentioned before, we choose the patient. We don't use every patient that we can. Okay. Oh, today we have a versus and I have a patient. This patient fits to versus. We choose the patients until now. Really is our truth. We are choosing the patients for now. I don't know with the If we have the system, we continue with the system. If we use the system with a lot of surgeries, maybe we can have expertise to any patients. But now, for now, we are choosing the patients. The system, the instruments a little bit flexible, as you mentioned, and it's short. So we have to put everything, and we perform a measure exactly the point that we can reach to see if the instruments is rich enough to do the surgery.
So if it's okay, Santi, I'd like to make one quick comment too. I think, first of all, I really want to thank Pradeep and particularly Paula too, because I've been in Paula's OR, I've watched her do this work, and they're doing a lot of hard work trying to figure this out. As well as Pradeep, you know, there's challenges when you do something on a new system, and they're the pioneers that are bringing that feedback back. And, you know, on the comments of and I said this in my talk, but on the comments of the strength of the arm and wobbling and stuff, that can be addressed with time. And I think CMR is already working towards that. They need to make longer arms. They know they need to make longer arms. But because of the modular system, one of the things that's nice about that is they could make one or two arms that potentially are stronger, longer, thicker, whatever you need, and then combine that with other modules. So the upgradability of this is a unique thing about the modular platforms, is that you can upgrade one or two modules, potentially evolve and change over time. And I think that's a unique environment that we'll be in the modular platform, because each arm can be different as long as the software integrates. And I think that's a potential opportunity. But I really want to thank both Dr. Chaube and Dr. Volpe for putting all the hard work in and dealing with all the clinical challenges of just being a pioneer and doing something new.
I agree. Ankit, should we close the seminar?
I think so. Do you have
any last questions?
Sorry. Yeah, sorry. Wow. It keeps muting. There you go. Doesn't want to hear me. No, I don't have any last minute comments or anything. Dr. Horgan, do you have anything to add?
No, I want to thank you all. This has been fascinating. You know, I think that I am so proud that Latin America is leading with India modular robotic surgery as a Argentinian myself, World Cup champions. You know, we won the World Cup, but I know Brazil loves that. But I'm so proud of Paula and Jorge and Pradeep for leading. For once and for all, it's not only the US leading robotic surgery, and it's so nice to see that this is happening all over the world, right? I am delighted for that. So to be here learning from you has been inspiring for me. I delayed my surgery because I couldn't stop hearing you guys. So I echo what Erik said. Congratulations for all your efforts in making this happen, and you should be proud that you're leading and we're watching from aside.
I'm going to pull for the Indian heritage too. So, okay. They're
yes,
also...
I see Pradeep. I see Pradeep too. Yeah. No. I love Pradeep. No. I didn't keep Pradeep out.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Great evening.
Yeah, no, thanks everyone. And I want to thank all the faculty, and then we'll hand it back over to Dr. Ortiz for any.
This has been an IBC Oxford University Hot Topics in Surgery production. I want to thank my co-chair, our moderators, and our distinguished panel of experts for their valuable time and talent today. We want to acknowledge all our partners and sponsors as our global collaboration produces safer and better outcomes. To view the complete Hot Topics in Surgery series, subscribe to our IBC YouTube channel and follow us on our social media platforms. Don't forget to mark your calendars as the 4th IBC Oxford University World Congress is being held from September 18th through the 20th of 2023. For more information, go to ibccongress.org. And now let's view another brief episode of IBC's exclusive Spotlight on Industry and today's sponsor from IBC Global. Stay safe and God bless.
Minimally invasive surgery can offer better patient outcomes. That's why we developed a solution to give surgeons more choice for performing these groundbreaking procedures, regardless of where they are in the world. Meet Hugo, a surgical platform that brings the possibility of robotic-assisted surgery to more people in more places. The Hugo Robotic-Assisted Surgery System is designed to empower surgeons, to work alongside OR staff, and to keep the patient at the center of care. Flexibility is at the core of our design and can be seen in each of our platform components. It starts from our smallest component, the instruments. A wide selection of wristed and non-wristed instruments is available to fit the surgeon's needs, including trusted technologies from our Tri-Staple and LigaSure portfolios. The instruments and endoscope then attach to one of Hugo's individual arm carts. Designed to easily move between ORs, these arms allow a broad variety of options for placement and positioning, and they can be easily deployed in 3 or 4 arm configurations to support a number of surgical approaches. Next is the Vision Tower, which is the interface between the Hugo system robotic arms and the surgeon console. The tower houses components such as the ValleyLab FT10 generator and STOR's visualization system. It's compatible in both laparoscopic and robotic-assisted procedures. For example, you can quickly switch the STOR's endoscope from handheld to robotic format. Next is the surgeon console, where the user can comfortably perform multiple tasks during the course of a surgery. With easy grip controllers and a high-definition 3D display, the console allows surgeons to confidently manipulate tools while maintaining full view of the surgical field. The console's open design gives the surgeon complete situational awareness in the OR and allows uninterrupted communication with the surgical team. With the Hugo system, you get more than just a surgical robot. A full suite of training and support services provides a total user experience, helping you optimize your robotics program. Every Hugo system is compatible with Touch Surgery Enterprise, a cloud-based video capture and analytics tool that uses machine learning to review surgical video and to provide data-based insights into your surgical practice. The tool allows users to store and share videos in a personal library for archiving or training purposes. To ensure each surgeon has total mastery over their Hugo system, we developed comprehensive simulation training modules. And the open console design makes it convenient for a mentor to provide guidance with or without the addition of a second console. For technical support, each Hugo system is completely field serviceable, giving surgeons confidence to practice without significant service disruptions. And thanks to our product surveillance registry, we can gather data to enhance your robotics program, support cutting-edge clinical research, and bring robotic-assisted surgery to more patients across the globe. Simply put, Hugo is an end-to-end solution that combines cutting-edge technology with world-class service on a flexible platform to serve your needs. And with a broad range of possible applications, the system will help bring minimally invasive surgery to more patients, launching surgical care into the future. The Hugo Robotic Assisted Surgery System. Solutions for today and tomorrow.